Alright guys, the purpose of today's video is to show you how to mount a pick rail to the bottom of your stock. We've had a handful of questions about how to mount a pick rail so they can get a Ryder Fat Boy 6 on their gun. As you see, the old school bipods, they hook to a sling stud and tension down. Just uses tension to tighten it. Those always come loose and start to wiggle around. So now the industry is kind of going towards the use of pick rails to mount your bipods to. So most gun stocks now, factory gun stocks, they're going to come with a pick rail attachment toward the fore end. But if you're on the fence of getting a Ryder Fat Boy 6 and you don't necessarily know how to mount a pick rail, that's what I'm going to go over today. The things that you need is a drill, pick rail. I have a 13/64 pilot bit, that's for the screw. I've got a 15/64 pilot bit, that's for the shank on the T-nut. I got two T-nuts that are M5, and I got two M5 Allen screws. That's what's going to go through the pick rail into the bottom of the barrel channel. Then I got a 7/8 paddle bit, and that's what's going to be used to countersink the T-nuts down inside the barrel channel so it doesn't come in contact with any part of the barrel. So first off, we're going to just go ahead and remove our action screws, get the stock free, because we got to get in between the barrel and the stock. We got to get into the barrel channel to make this work. All right, we're going to start by removing these two action screws along with the bottom metal. We're going to move on to the bipod here. Take the old bipod off because the new pick rail's got to mount there. Then we're going to take the stock off the action and set it aside. All right, in some cases, you can get pick rails with certain stock manufacturers. You can get pick rails that will actually mount to the double sling studs, and they can use the holes that are already there, and you don't have to do anything that I'm getting ready to show you. In this application, I want my pick rail as far forward as possible. That will create the most stability with the bipod. So I'm going to leave this sling stud in. I'm going to take this sling stud out. And what I'm going to do is put it right over that hole. And I'm going to get this almost toward the front. I'm going to keep it just a little ways away from the front so I don't split the end of the stock out. But I want it forward more than just right there. So I'm going to take that stud out. So now we're going to line up our pick rail, get it right where we want it, make sure it's square with the stock. We're going to drill our first hole through here. We're going to put the pick rail back on, put a screw through it, and then drill our second hole in the middle of the pick rail. And you can see our holes that we have there. We're going to now take our paddle bit, and with our paddle bit, we're going to slowly work down so where we can recess that T-nut down into the stock to where it doesn't interfere with the barrel channel. Alright, so you can see that's the hole I drilled, that's the hole I drilled there. This T-nut sits down in there. I just created a recess to where it's going to sit below the barrel channel when it's turned the other way. So I have got to drill out this hole a little bit bigger so it will fit the shank of the T-nut inside. I'm going to use that 15/64 drill bit so I can countersink a hole for the T-nut shank to fit in. I'm going to put that T-nut in with the Allen screw through the bottom of the pick rail. I'm going to do the same with the back here. Put the screw through, put the T-nut on the underside, tighten these down. I'm going to flip the stock over and make sure that the T-nut or screw is not interfering with the barrel channel here, so your barrel stays free-floated inside the stock. I'm going to then put this other T-nut on, tighten it all down, make sure everything's good. Take it out, inspect it, make sure everything's tight. You can see the two T-nuts down in there with the screws protruding, but they are not protruding far enough to touch your barrel. You want to make sure that your barrel is not going to contact those screws or T-nuts in any way possible. We're going to continue by putting these action screws back in through our bottom metal and our stock into our barreled action. We're going to then attach the Ryder Fat Boy 6 bipod, make sure clearances are good and everything, make sure nothing's in the way, make sure our barrel's still free floated here. Attach the Fat Boy 6 to our pick rail that we just installed, and now you're able to put a Fat Boy 6 bipod on there, or any bipod for that matter. Alright, so yeah, that's how you mount the pick rail to the bottom of your stock if you don't already have a pick rail. Some guys will try to put a screw through the bottom of the pick rail just into the stock if they have a wood stock. That's just going to wobble loose, and eventually your bipod's just going to fall off along with the pick rail. You need to have it bolted on both sides, so screw through one side of the pick rail and nut or T-nut on the other side. It's going to be just as sturdy as, it's going to be the sturdiest thing that you can do to attach a pick rail. Hopefully this helps make a decision on the Fat Boy 6 to attach a pick rail to your stock. It's just a better method than hooking to a sling stud.